Well, hello there. I'm Jamain, and this is the recap. Welcome. Today on the recap, we are looking at writing notices. How to write a notice. Today is the 18th day of March in the year 2020. Many of our schools are closed presently because of the advent of the coronavirus. So I do hope you are still studying though, because your exams are fast approaching unless CXC changes that date. So at the end of the video, I'll give you some advice and some tips of how to prevent the coronavirus infection from affecting you directly. But today's video is dedicated to writing notices. As you may know, notice writing or writing a notice can appear in the CSEC English A exams, in the section B of those exams. What are some of the things that can actually appear? Let's have a look. So, English language, or English A as we know it, has paper 2, which has four sections: section A, B, C, and D. In section A, summary writing will be assessed. Section B, we have a host of things can be actually tested there. So we can have a letter, we can have an email, we can have a statistical report, we can have a simple report, we can have a notice, we can have a memo, an agenda, or meetings, writing the minutes for a meeting. Uh, so in section B, as you can see, a whole list of things can actually be there. So that is where we, in the teaching arena, might be somewhat unsure, because it can be any of those things. While we may prepare for a letter, CXT can surprise you with a notice. And it's not like it's a very dramatic or difficult thing to write. It is just that the section has so much depth to it that we don't get to cover it all before you go to the exam. Though you might be doing some work in school, I'm trying to supplement that work with some additional work with this video. Section C is a short story. Section D is a persuasive writing or the argumentative essay writing. I have videos on this channel with summary writing, letter writing, email writing, statistical report writing, and now I have notice writing. I have short story writing and persuasive essay writing. So if you have not done a review of those videos, please go ahead and do that, as you have the time now to do it. Good. So let's get into the meat of the matter now. Why write a notice, or what is a notice? Well, a notice is a written form or a printed form of an announcement. As we might know, uh, a notice seeks to inform a general population or a group of people of something that will happen or something that has happened. So, like I'm saying, a notice is seeking to give information. So we might be aware of notices being placed in the newspaper, in magazines, notices on social media. Despite the reason for the notice, the general idea for all of it is to inform a people or a group of people. All right. So what are some of the possible notices you can have? You can have notices of upcoming events. For example, a meeting. You can have notice of something that was lost or something that was found. You can have a cancellation of an event. Or you can have a plain, simple notice, printed or written, which seeks to just give the information to a public gathering. So, in the exam, should this appear in your English A exams, you should have a notice of about 100 to 150 words. Though they will not tell you a word limit, your notice should not be too long. For most instances, they will tell you to write the notice on something. So it shouldn't be too long when it's written on that thing, right? So you will try to give as much details as you possibly can. Let's say you're inviting someone to a meeting. You have to give them good information of where the meeting will be, the time the meeting will take place, as well as who will be in attendance in that to that meeting. Right? So those are some of the things you have to include. Let's say something was lost. You have to be careful to describe the thing well or put a picture. Well, you wouldn't be able to put a picture, but you should be able to describe this thing so well that if somebody sees it, they know exactly what it was you were describing. So your notice should have a good amount of details. Should this appear in your CSEC English A exams, it will be worth 30 marks. It's basically a decent amount of marks. In fact, it will be the most marks for a single section in the English A exams. So you should spend some time into getting it correctly done and to earn as most of those marks as possible. So it's really easy, it's really simple. It's a matter of knowing the structure or the format and go ahead and do some practice on that. So let's go into it. The format. The format of a simple notice. So the first thing you should do is to start with saying where this notice is coming from. Let's say you're writing a school's notice. What is the name of the school? If you're writing a notice from the student body, what is the name of the student body? If you're writing a notice from the Revenue Authority, what is the name of the Revenue Authority? Whatever the group is or the agency that is giving this notice, you should put that at the top there. Right? So let's say a family is calling a reunion. The name of the family will be at the top there. All right. After which, you're going to put a date. And like I tell you, on many occasions, write your dates out. So the 19th of May 2016 or the 14th of December 2020. Whatever the date is, write it out. Don't write 14 to 2 or 14 to 14. We might not know exactly when that is, so just write it out for simplicity so everybody understands clearly what it is. Then you have to put the word notice. You have to actually have the word notice there. If you don't do it for CSEC, you will lose marks. Right? So you have to actually put in that word notice. And after the word notice, so line by line, I'm giving this to you. So the first line, recapping, you put the name of the body that is sending the notice, then you put the date in the next line. And in the next line, you have to write the actual word notice as big as you possibly can. I don't want to say too big, but you get the idea. So after you put the word notice, you must do a title. Your title should be a catchy one. It is what seeks to let the readers know exactly what this notice is about without reading the body of the notice. So let's say this notice is from a church, and that will be the name of the church will be at the top of the notice. And the subject can be cancellation of Sunday's Mass or cancellation of Sunday, January 15th service. All right, so or a postponement of the service or a change in location of the service, something to do with what the notice is about, right? It does not have to be a complete sentence, but it should be a phrase that gives an idea of exactly what the notice is about. Don't write one word, please. Don't say cancellation. Cancellation of what? Postponement of what? So give some amount of information as to what it is in a few words, but not a full sentence and not a single word. Now going into the body of our notice, like you can imagine, that's where you will get most of your marks. So you have to do a good job there. So what is this notice really about? The body of the notice seeks to give more information. So in the first paragraph, I always say put an introduction there. So give something, give a preamble to the notice. So let's say we are dealing with the postponement of service. Start by saying something to this effect. On Sunday, January 15th, 2020, service will be postponed or cancelled. And then you go on to give the reasons for that cancellation. As you know, our pastor is in jail, so we will not be able to have service this week. Might not be the best example, but you get the drift. Good job. So go ahead and do it in a little systematic way. So the first paragraph, you might want to have two paragraphs. A brief introduction, which tells you a little bit more than the information presented in the title. And then you go on to give another paragraph with additional details. The most of the bulk of the notice will be in that second paragraph, right? And that's where you give all the possible information about the event that is going to come up. Make sure you give your time, your date, your venue. All of this might not be in the question that you're actually given, you know. You may have to make up some of this. So go ahead and think about it, plan about it, and then you go on to write it, right? And you have to talk about places, you talk about the time, you talk about the date, you must talk about the day as well, and location. Location is important. Some persons might give a notice for a meeting but don't have a place for the meeting. So all these things you must include, right? And coming down to the end, after you have done that, you can thank somebody for their cooperation. You can thank them for their continued support. You can thank them for their uh, enthusiasm or something you can thank them for. But when you thank someone coming down to the end, it indicates that you're closing. So that will count as a conclusion to your notice. And finally, as you finish off the notice, you must sign, you must put a name exactly, and then there must be a designation. Who is sending this notice? Is it the pastor's wife? Is it the secretary? Is it the president of an association? Is it the principal of a school? Who is sending the notice? You actually have to put that there in the bottom, right? So you sign, let's say Jim Jones, and at the bottom of Jim Jones, if he is the principal of the school, we put principal. When you do that, you get marks in the exam. If you don't do it, common sense will tell you you will lose marks. Good, let's take a break. We are taking a break to talk about the coronavirus. Now, this is a flyer the school I teach at prepared for the students for social media. Uh, and this flyer seeks to give some information as to what you should do to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Now, what is coronavirus? Coronavirus is, like the name suggests, a virus that oftentimes cause mild infection, such as cold, or even more severe infections, such as severe acute respiratory syndrome. Despite if it's mild or severe, it is going to cause some amount of discomfort, right? And oftentimes it can cause death, especially when persons are immunosuppressed. So persons who are doing science with no immunosuppression is basically when the immune system has become weakened by something. Let's say for an underlying medical condition such as diabetes or hypertension or HIV infection. Those are things that will cause weakened immune system. So right off the bat, coronavirus can infect anyone, but it's more severe to persons that are immunosuppressed. So, like I said, it can cause mild to severe infection. So, some of the symptoms would include things like runny nose, sore throat, coughing, coughing, uh, fever, breathing difficulties. So, those are some of the things you look for when you're trying to diagnose someone with coronavirus. What you should do though, if you have those symptoms, quite off the right off the bat, I would say just stay home. Don't go anywhere. Social distancing. Practice social distancing. You distance yourself from people even if they don't show signs of the disease. All right. So how it's spread by mostly air. So it's some studies have shown that it's airborne. Some studies are saying it's on contact surfaces. Whichever it is going to be spread from person to person, rather direct contact, handshakes, or so. So avoid doing that. I'm not gonna say wear gloves because if you wear gloves, you are gonna move the infection from one person to the next person. So what you have to do is proper hand washing. Wash your hands often. Wash your hands every 20 minutes. Wash your hands at least for a minute. So to prevent the spread of corona. When you wash your hands, you are going to wash your hands with soap. Some persons think when you wash your hands, you're just washing your hands with water. Okay, okay. You have to use soap, okay? Not just any soap, antibacterial soap, antimicrobial soap, right? If you have to cough, cough in a rag or cough using your elbows. Use a face mask if you are sick. Normal, healthy people don't need a face mask, all right? And how do these viruses get into your body exactly? They get into your body when you touch your mucous membranes, when you touch your eyes, nose, mouth. So avoid touching your face when you are presumably having coronavirus. In fact, you shouldn't be touching your face at all. Avoid doing it. I know it's very difficult. Some of us are bored, so we often touch ourselves when we're bored, but avoid doing it. All right. And if you get sick, call the hotline. I know many countries have hotlines. I don't want to put Guyana's number, but you go ahead and call your hotline. You might not want to go in. Don't go in. Call the hotline. Because if you risk going, you risk infecting someone. Call the hotline before, and then they will tell you what to do. All right, and the thing about it though, once you are young and you're healthy, you're able to fight off the infection. But persons who are old might not be so lucky. So that's why you have to protect yourself. To protect persons you have contact with, like your grandmother. You know, we love our grandparents a lot. Huh? We can't kill them. So please, protect yourselves. And we will beat this too. We will beat this too. So this is a question that was in the 2020 January CSEC English paper. So in section B, a notice appeared this year, this January exam, and it asks that the outgoing president of the school's student council to inform the general population about new elections. So this is the information they gave. You can pause the video and read it, but what I want to highlight to you is how you will be assessed. Look at the part at the bottom that says, in your answer, you will be assessed on how well you format the notice. So you have to follow the format I gave you earlier. You must select relevant information to complete your notice. You must organize and express your information well. And of course, it's an English exam. You have to be able to use appropriate grammar, sentence construction, vocabulary, spelling, and of course, punctuation. And like they often say, it must be in continuous prose. One thing must be leading to another, and you should try to use your linking words. This is worth 30 marks. The entire section B is 30 marks. So anything that comes in section B, whether it's a letter, an email, a report, it will be worth 30 marks. So you have to spend some time to get it correctly done. It is the heaviest section of the English A Paper 2 exams, so you have to do it well. Good. So this is a model answer to that question you just had. This is using CXC's mark scheme, so you have a good idea of what you're expected to do. So the first line should tell you where the notice is coming from, the body is coming from. So you know it's coming from the All Saints High School Students Council. You have to put the word notice. You actually have to put that word notice. If you don't, you lose marks. Then you have the date and then the title of the notice, upcoming elections. And then you write the notice. The first paragraph will give you some information about what the notice is about. And then you'll give all the other information that the students need to know or the audience need to know in the upcoming second paragraph. Then you do a little close just to tie it up. You see, I have there at the bottom, let's keep the legacy of Students' Council alive. See you there. Sometimes just get the message home, right? And you actually have to sign the letter, put a name. And sometimes CXC might tell you who is sending the notice. I said letter earlier, I mean notice. You CXC will tell you who is sending the notice. They might tell you president or secretary. As the secretary of the association write a notice. If they tell you the secretary, don't put president. Put whatever they tell you to put. All right? So carefully read your question through. So that is it. Pause this, read through it, make sure you understand what is there. Drop a comment, let me know what you think, and I can respond. In fact, I do respond to most of the comments. Let me know what you think. So I'm using the CXC mark scheme to show you how you're going to be assessed. So you can see 10 of those marks will come from or go towards your understanding, while 20 goes towards your expression. So your content is where the understanding will come, while your expression is really how you're organizing and how you're using language and mechanics and so on. So let's look at it. The content, you have to be able to use the format conveniently, conventionally, and the format will include, again, like I told you, you must include the word notice and you must clearly show who is the sender of the notice. For example, the president or the secretary of the association, whoever they told you to use. All right. So you can pause this and you can go through it. What I wanted to tell you is that if you do not use the word notice, of course, you will lose marks, right? Of course, you have to be able to organize your information in a sequence so you can have a clear pattern of the information. So if you don't do that, of course, you will lose marks for organization. You can't be all over the place, so you have to be able to organize yourself well within the writing itself. So pause this, read through it, understand exactly how you're going to be assessed. Oh, I forgot to tell you, anytime you're writing a notice and there are bits of information that need to stand out, you have to use bullets. For example, just now we had those positions that you can actually vote for, like president, vice president, secretary, and so. When you have those that bit of information that need to stand out, put bullets like points form, like you see in the example just now. Good. Put bits of information in point form. All right. Good. And you can see that last point there that says they must use bullets. Good. So you have an idea of what that is now. Good. So I'm going to give you homework now. So use this information here on this flyer here to present a notice to the student body of your school coming from the students council, right? You are writing this notice and you're giving them information on how to protect themselves from coronavirus. So these are the things that you have to do. All right, so wash hands, cover mouths, and so on. Go ahead and write the notice to include these things as a list. All right, you have to list them. And this notice is coming from the secretary of the association. So it's coming from the secretary of the Students' Council. And whoever that person is, you can put your name, you can put anybody's name for that matter. Good. So that is it. We have a few more homework examples here, some practice questions that you can work on. But that is all the time we have today. Thank you very much for being with me. Until we meet again, goodbye.